Hello and welcome to Newsclick for our final discussions today on the elections in the 5 states. Mizoram is over. MNF has convincingly taken the state. We don't really have anything left to discuss. It's a victory of MNF, which tacitly has an alliance with the BJP. So it's very clear that Congress is now out of the picture. It's entirely BJP and its supporters. It's an ally which is going to run the state. In the other 4 states, first Telangana, KCR has certainly shown that his call to go in for elections earlier than what was originally scheduled has proved to be right. He has again convincingly won the state. Congress and its allies have come a distant second. We are still left with the 3 other states. Here in Chhattisgarh, again, Congress is clearly the victor. BJP has lost and lost fairly badly. So that is one takeaway, that out of the 3 states which constitute the part of the Hindi heartland where BJP has its main strength, at least Chhattisgarh is certainly lost to the BJP. When it comes to Rajasthan, again, Congress has a clear edge. It's likely to have a majority on its own. Maybe it may require the support of a couple of MLAs from outside or as a part of the coalition, but its distance between the Congress and the BJP is quite significant. At the moment, it is seen to be having a majority, just a slender majority of 1 to form the government all by itself. But these are, please note, only what I would be called leads. They are not declared results. So there could be some change. The real cliffhanger in this election has been Madhya Pradesh. The seats have swung between BJP and Congress in a way that's very difficult to call the state as of now. There are about 12 to 15 seats where the margins are very narrow. And as of now, though Congress is leading by about 5 seats over BJP, it seems to be having 113 as per trends from different channels. As of BJP 108, see difference of about 5. But if you look at the results declared by the Election Commission, then the leads are not that clear. And in fact, it seems that they are really neck and neck even at the moment. What our takeaway is that BJP in the Hindi heartland is doing certainly much worse than the 2014 election. Now, Bappa, if we look at what the last election was in 2014 parliamentary election, looking at 2019, and if we take that the Hindi heartland plus Gujarat and Maharashtra, if we take these seats into account, roughly about 230 odd seats which are really which gave BJP its lead in the parliament. Out of this, now, how many seats are we likely to see? This 230 seats I'm talking about is what BJP held out of its 288 seats. So, which is this 230 came from the Hindi heartland plus Gujarat plus Maharashtra as the core BJP strength. What are we seeing if we extrapolate these trends? Of course, we don't really know whether we can or we cannot. But if we do extrapolate these trends, what is the likely numbers we are seeing in the 2019 elections?
Sure. So, as a background, BJP won 288 seats last time, out of which 235 came from this belt, which is North India and Gujarat, Maharashtra combined. So, if these elections are indicators of what is going to happen in 2019, then BJP looks like in fairly bad shape. Of these 3 elections, these 3 states, BJP held 62 out of the 65 parliamentary seats in Rajasthan, MP and Chhattisgarh.
6 out of 65, 62 seats were held by BJP alone.
Yeah.
Not NDA, but BJP alone.
By BJP alone. And if you look at these results, so if you look at the swings of when you compare the swings with 2014, the swings are fairly dramatic, right? So if you compare Rajasthan this election versus what BJP did in 2014, there is about a 17% swing.
Rajasthan, there is a 17% swing from 2014. That's a parliamentary election.
That's a parliamentary election, but they break it up.
You're talking of constituency by constituency and summing it up and then looking at the total figure.
Yeah. So these numbers are similar in Chhattisgarh. Again, there is a 17%, roughly a 17% swing in Chhattisgarh. Over the 3 states, there is about a 15% swing away from the BJP. And some of it has gone to Congress, some of it has gone to regional parties, because these are state elections, so the state parties have got some of those votes. But just in these 3 states, if you look at, even if you roughly split the seats in Rajasthan and MP, half and half, the parliamentary seats, while Chhattisgarh, you pretty much give it to Congress because Congress has swept Chhattisgarh this time, BJP would drop from 62 to, let's say, something in the range of 30 or late 20s. So that's right away, it's losing 30 seats. And in the entire North India, BJP had won 90% of the seats in this belt.
That means 90% of its seats came from this belt.
Well, both.
Both.
So 90% of the seats of North India went to BJP. If you, I'm not including Maharashtra in this, but in the rest of the belt, 90% of the seats went to BJP, and about 80% of BJP's seats came from this region. So if you see this kind of 15% swing away from BJP that you're seeing in these elections, then you can project that from the 235 seats from this belt, BJP could easily drop by, let's say, 100 to 130 seats, about roughly half of the 235 seats. So if it drops from 100 to 130 seats, then BJP's total seats in the parliament would drop from 288, which it got last time, to somewhere in the region of, let's say, 150 to 180. Well short of the 270 required for a majority.
So we are talking about 150 to 180 seats is what it will end up by having. This is what we are basically seeing in this as a consequence of these trends being projected for the 2019 election.
That's correct.
Paranjoy, we were just discussing what the consequence of this could be, and we're going to discuss state by state what these results portend. Of course, at the moment what we have are leads rather than wins, but it seems that at Chhattisgarh is clear, Rajasthan is pretty stable, it's not changing, but the margins in Madhya Pradesh being small, it is sort of swinging back and forth, and it's, as of now, we cannot confirm what the results are likely to be in Madhya Pradesh, though Congress seems to have a slight edge at the moment.
That's right. In fact, my understanding is in that more than 30 assembly constituencies, one estimate is 34 assembly constituencies, the leads are extremely narrow. And it's really in a few hundreds, so we can't really say which way it would go. But I think if you look at the big picture,
and that's what we were doing just now, by this big picture, what we have come to the conclusion, and Bappa was giving us the kind of swings we see from state to state. If we extrapolate that to 2019, which is what we were doing, it seems from North India, and if we take Maharashtra, Gujarat as not swinging so much, but swinging somewhat in this direction, we are looking at something like anything between 130 seats to 150 seats, BJP losing.
you know,
Minimum 100, it could go as high as 150. All of these, of course, are projections. Of course, we don't know more than that.
Are you really saying Lok Sabha seats?
We're talking Lok Sabha.
Okay, wait. Let's just, for the time being, just focus on the three heartland states, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and
So
Chhattisgarh.
here, there are 65 seats, Lok Sabha seats, out of which 62 were held by BJP.
Absolutely, all
And
but three.
if we extrapolate again these results over the parliament seats, BJP is losing anything between 30 to 35 seats conservatively. Actually, it could lose more, but conservatively is losing 30 to 35 seats.
Let's be even more conservative and say, let's assume much could happen over the next, say, 4 months. We have a new Reserve Bank governor in place, Shaktikant Das. Let's assume some dramatic changes happen, just for the sake of argument. Let's assume that it could be, instead of 30, the BJP loses, say, 20 to 25. The more moot point, and that is, I think, even in these 3 states, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, it would be next to impossible for the BJP to recover this loss in the states which are in Northeast India and Eastern India, Bengal and Orissa. And we are completely, for the time being, discounting likely losses of the Bharatiya Janata Party in Western India, Gujarat and Maharashtra particularly, and Uttar Pradesh and Bihar.
Yeah, it's sort of, you are 3 steps ahead of us at the moment. We still hadn't come that far. We were saying that if we just extrapolate these tendencies without getting more granular about it, differentiating in different places, different kind of swings, but if these swings hold good, then we are looking of a loss of BJP of anything between 100 to 150 seats, which means BJP could come down. And again, these are pure projections based on what figures we are now seeing. Based on these projections, BJP could come down to something like 160 to 180 seats in the next elections. That means in 2019, instead of 288, which is what they got at the
282
at the time of 282 at the time of elections, if we take it
which
to
is now down
to 275,
272 actually,
272.
Yes, somewhere in that region. Okay.
but if you take that, it could come down from, say, 282 that it won. It could come down to anything between 150 to 180. These are pure projections, statistical projections. They're not political projections.
But again, Prabir, again, let's look at it. Let's again look at, from the BJP's point of view, let's suppose they gain. Just for the, again, hypothetically, since we are speculating.
No, I'm not speculating.
Okay.
I'm just saying if you
on
project,
the basis of the projected
I'm
numbers,
saying
correct.
we'll come to the speculations
All right.
later. Purely on the basis of these projections, not making political projections, but doing pure statistical projections, we are looking at if this trend holds good, and I'm not saying it will, then it is
BJP
a loss of
slipping to between 160 and 180.
180, 150 to 180, that could be the range within which it will go. Now we can discuss the political projections, but before I do that, I would like to ask Bappa, is that correct? That would be the range, if these trends hold, that is the likely range within which BJP's results are likely to be.
Yeah, so see, last time BJP, like I said, BJP won 90% of the seats in this entire belt, in the Gangetic Plain, in the north, what is called North India, leaving aside Jammu and Kashmir.
Or what we call the Hindi heart.
The Hindi heartland, yeah. So, and if you look at these results, even assuming that BJP and Congress are neck and neck like they are in MP, if BJP were to drop from 90% to something like 45% of total seats in this belt, then it would drop from 235 seats it won in this belt to half of that, right? To something like
Okay, you're doing a statistical
arithmetic.
We are talking about only statistical analysis, because the political analysis can take place tomorrow, day after. Today is the day of just arithmetic right now. Let's look at the trends and see where we can be, what is likely to be if these trends hold. So this is, so you agree that this is likely to be in this range. Can we go quickly over these 4 states and have a look at each of the states and see what the salient features of the states are, and comparing it now to 2014 election, assembly segment wise. Of course, that was not an assembly election, it was a parliamentary election, but we have the segment wise votes over here. So can you tell us what is the, from 2014 to 2018, say if this is the state of, we are seeing Madhya Pradesh at the moment?
No, this is Rajasthan.
Rajasthan.
Yeah.
Rajasthan, if we take Rajasthan for instance, if we take from 2014 to 2018, what are the changes you see?
So, if you comparing with 2014, there is a massive swing in vote share away from BJP, almost a 17% swing of vote share away from BJP. Half of that is going to Congress, and the rest half is going to the state regional parties. BJP is losing 105 assembly segments from 2014. So the whole of Rajasthan has 200 assembly segments. BJP got about 180 of them last time when they swept the state. They are losing more than half of that.
Okay.
Right?
If that happens, what are the likely drop in parliamentary seats?
So if you go from, you got 25 seats, you had...
You're saying half?
Well, it's more than half, right? 180 assembly seats translated into...
I'm just focusing on Rajasthan.
So 180 assembly seats, which BJP won in 180 assembly segments in 2014. It has now dropped to 74.
Less than half.
Yeah. So from 25 seats, at the very least, it will drop to 12. It could drop even more.
Okay.
Right? So that's Rajasthan.
And any particular segments which are more affected by this shift in Rajasthan?
Yeah. So
or is it uniform across
no,
the state?
it's not uniform. You will actually see the bright colors in the map are where the seats which are flipped. So you'll see that there is hardly any BJP has hardly flipped any seat. So BJP has lost most of the seats it held. Congress, on the other hand, has flipped the entire Marwar region. There's an entire green thing that Congress has flipped.
The western part of Rajasthan.
The western part of
And also the eastern part.
The eastern
Large
part and
parts, yes,
the Shekhawati. Yeah.
Correct.
So there are two dynamics at play. It is lost in the agricultural belt, and it has lost in the Marwar region
Two.
Yeah.
So that's a significant loss. And what you're saying is, simply translating, it means a drop to about 10 to 12 seats.
From 25 down
25
to about 12.
Yeah.
12 at best.
12 at
even lower.
Yeah.
Even lower. In fact, what you were saying earlier when we were discussing outside, that on these basis, if this is the basis, is very similar to the 2008 elections, where BJP got about 4 seats and Congress got 21.
Yeah, so this election, the number of seats and the vote share is very similar to the 2008 elections. And in the following general elections in 2009, Congress got 21 seats and BJP got 4 seats. So if the similar pattern plays out, then we are looking for BJP to drop to single digits, right?
Even more.
Yeah.
Even more. Okay. Coming to Madhya Pradesh, which is the tricky one, because here, what is in Hindi called "Kaante ka takkar chal raha hai." What?
Before you want to do that, you want to discuss a little bit about politics in Rajasthan?
We'll come to politics as the last round
All right,
of our show.
sure. All right.
So let's go through the numbers first,
Okay.
and then we come to the boring. Let's get rid of the boring stuff first, and then we come to the more interesting issue, which is politics.
Arithmetic versus politics.
At the moment, we are in the arithmetical discussion.
All right.
Okay. So this is the Madhya Pradesh results. And again, if we take a similar kind of exercise from 2014 to today, what is the scenario we see?
So again, you are seeing about a 13.5% shift away from BJP in terms of number of votes, and only about 6% of that is going to Congress. The rest is going to regional parties, right?
And possibly some to BSP and also some to SP.
Well, BSP hasn't gained that much.
Actually, BSP hasn't gained that much. It's leading in 2 assembly constituencies.
It's holding the 2 it had, and even its vote share hasn't gone up significantly.
So if you look at the Lok Sabha results of 2014 in Madhya Pradesh, please correct me if I'm wrong, the Congress got 2?
Congress got 2, BJP got 27 out of 29.
All right.
And what does it look like on the basis of the seats that have been flipped in this election in terms of assembly segments? What does the parliamentary figures look like?
So BJP, if you took the parliamentary elections and split it by assembly segments, BJP had 192 assembly segments in 2014. It has now dropped to 100, right now it's saying 100.
The leads. Let's stick to, yes.
It's dropped to 109. So
192 to 109.
Based on the current leads.
Based on the current leads. So from 27, so and the vote share between Congress and BJP in this election
is very, very
is
narrow.
they're almost at par.
Almost at this.
So you would think that the state would probably split, that the Lok Sabha seats will also probably split. From 27, BJP will drop down to 14 or 15 seats.
Anything between 12 to 15 seats, 16 seats, that's a
Yeah.
range which it is likely to be. But again, a net loss of about half its seats.
Yes.
That's what we're looking at. If you come now to
Chhattisgarh.
Chhattisgarh, this is a decisive victory for the Congress at the moment. And BJP has actually performed pretty badly over here. If we look at the parliamentary segments, again, it would seem that the entire state is likely to go to Congress if these results hold good for parliamentary elections.
Almost all, certainly.
Right. Max BJP may get 1 seat, but if these were to hold, so BJP in the last elections got 10 out of 11 seats, and if these results were to hold,
It'll just be the other way
it
around.
will just be the other way around.
So overall terms, from 62, as you have said earlier, it's likely to drop anything between 25 to 30, purely on arithmetical basis.
That's true, yeah.
Not on the basis of politics, which Paranjoy wants to discuss. Paranjoy, what are the political factors that you think might help the BJP in the 2019 election, A, and B, as some of the analysts have been saying on TV the whole day, that BJP's momentum is actually now negative. And what we have seen is once a negative momentum starts, it's very difficult to reverse it. So can it drop further, or do you think that in the parliamentary elections, the electorate can behave differently and therefore there more potential for BJP to gain, A, and B, what are the tricks that BJP can pull out of its bag to make this happen?
Really tough question. If I were to put myself in the shoes of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party, I don't think that's possible. Let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Let me try and see what can they possibly do in the next 4 months to ostensibly or attempt to recover the ground that seem to be losing, if you go by the pure arithmetic of it. One thing is the economy. A concerted effort may be or will be made to show that we are trying to do something about the economy for the unemployed, for the farmers, for small and medium enterprises. Now, this could take the form of announcements outside the budget, in the budget, that this is how the government is going to act. Now, where will that money come from? With Shaktikanti Das as the new governor of the Reserve Bank of India, remember he was a staunch supporter of demonetization. It could be argued that the Reserve Bank of India is keeping more of its money to itself than it should. I don't know that, and therefore a kind of largesse. What the government's critics will say, a raid on the treasury, they'll say, no, this is our legitimate share of money that belongs to the people, and announce some grandiose programs for the unemployed, maybe an unemployment dole, something for small and medium enterprises, and for farmers. This could be on the economic front. On the political front, perhaps Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah would, I mean, the Ram Mandir issue is a big question mark.
I'd like to ask you this question specifically, since you're raising the Ram Mandir issue. It doesn't seem the Ram Mandir worked in this election, because they tried very hard to raise the issue. Every day we found statements about the Mandir, the need to bring in a law, all kinds of statements possible, threats to the Supreme Court being held out. All of this did not seem to enthuse the electorate. And my old argument has always been that this was more about destroying the Babri Masjid. Apman ka pratik tha, usko girana hai, which
then mandir wahi banayenge.
Then mandir wahi banayenge. It was always a sort of slogan to demolish the Babri Mosque and Babri Masjid, because that was how you were going to show that you were now the dominant force over here. rather than the mandir. Mandir doesn't seem to have worked earlier or even now.
Okay. Let me look at it again from the point of view of Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah. And it's very clear that, remember, Yogi Adityanath campaigned much more than the Prime Minister. And if you go through what the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh said, the Ram Mandir would come up. Now, what I'm seeing here is within the Bharatiya Janata Party, not just the NDA, but within the BJP, there was this deep division. One section would go along with what you're saying, that this is a non-issue. Let's not focus on Ram Mandir. And let's keep one section of the Sangh Parivar happy, whether it be the Bajrang Dal or the Vishwa Hindu Parishad or a section within Nagpur, while, not saying we don't want the Ram Mandir there, not saying we don't want to, that a new law is the only way out or a new ordinance is the only way out to build the Mandir, but focusing more on the development part of it. Now, what does this imply? Within the Sangh Parivar and within the BJP, if there are these two distinct positions that emerges, will that be some sort of an implosion? Will we see more people like Mr. Kushwaha departing from the NDA? This is a big question mark. And very honestly, I don't know the answer.
So,
or say Bulandshahr.
Yeah, let's put it the other way around. I think both the Nagpur, shall we say, the nerve center of BJP, and at the moment the Karnadhar of BJP, the duo of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, all of them are grappling what is the best strategy. For them, therefore, playing the quote-unquote the Mandir card or the Ati Hindu card was in the run-up to the general elections. That's what they were testing out the waters. Will this work on the electorate? If it doesn't, what's the course correction we need to do? Now, it is also interesting to see the other dynamic that's taking place. Augusta helicopter issue is being raked up, and the clear target over there, once they've got Michel over here, and if he can be made to point fingers for a deal at some of the figures who are either close to Congress or belong to the Parivar, as I say. And the second is trying to bring back Mr. Malia. Both of these could be then declared as great, shall we say, victories against corruption. And a lot of the Modi sheen has been lost because of quick and simple issue of crony capitalism.
Okay.
Particularly Rafale has been really born in their throat. So can we sort of think that these two could be now played? And particularly, even if Malia, they're not able to bring him back, but they've got a judgment, sort of making this as the cornerstone of their campaign?
Yes, I would go along with you on that score. The chances of my schoolmate Vijay Mallya appealing against the judgment and continuing to stay in cold and foggy and damp London in the next few months is a distinct possibility. I can't second guess what the courts in the United Kingdom, as it's going through its own turmoil about Brexit, no Brexit, Theresa May, etc. I can't predict that future. But the other point that you mentioned about corruption as an issue, definitely very, very concerted attempt would be made by the Sangh Parivar, by the Bharatiya Janata Party, by Mr. Modi, by Mr. Amit Shah to ensure that Rafale does not become Bofors. And one good way of doing it is to continue to highlight on Augusta Westland, Vadra, National Herald, and to divert attention, say from Raman Singh's son, another helicopter scam, or the Bappa scam, or a whole lot of other issues, whether it be demonetization and the cooperative banks in Gujarat that saw a sudden surge in the money that was paid, or Mr. Amit Shah's son's business dealings. But I think the really sensitive point is the Rafale. And to ensure that Rafale does not become what Bofors became to Rahul Gandhi's father, Rajiv Gandhi. So on the corruption issue, I think certainly Mr. Modi is going to go all out and reassert that, look, unlike the 2G scam, unlike the CWG scam, unlike the Jijaji scam, that is Robert Vadra, there's been no big ticket corruption vis-a-vis as far as we are concerned. So I think this is one area they're going to give a lot of emphasis. And I'm just wondering, other than these, other than Robert Vadra and Augusta Westland, where they can try and do something about it. I mean, that's really a matter of
without
speculation.
getting into the speculative aspects of what else they can get, the question is, this is to be offset against the fact that Anil Ambani's credibility is pretty low. He has been singularly successful in running his companies down into huge losses. He is his house is one of the indebted business houses in the country. By all accounts, on the NPA list of the banks, he figures very prominently. Only officially it's not NPA, it's called stressed assets.
Financially stressed assets.
Financially stressed assets.
And we are going to have to watch how Mr. Shaktikant Das is going to deal with this big issue.
Particularly, as we have discussed earlier, it's also about certain power sector companies which involve Adani's, the Tatas, and also Mr. Ambani.
And SR Group, among others.
SR Group. So all of this, if we put together, the question is, Anil Ambani, more than even the Rafale deal, the Anil Ambani deal of 30,000 crores of offset is something which is sticking in people's throat. Of course, all the 30,000 crore offset is not Anil Ambani. About 21,000 is Anil Ambani. But the point is, a company which has stress assets of 100,000 crores, and it's certainly not been successfully running any particular company that we can think of, suddenly it becoming the favored player against Hindustan Aeronautics Limited with the record of aircraft.
And Prabir, to link, connect the dots, Mr. Ambani, the younger Ambani, Anil Ambani's company, the electricity distribution is sold to Mr. Adani, and there's a big hue and cry because the price of electricity has gone up to consumers in Mumbai. And let me again try and connect some of the other dots, because that's linked to the Augusta Westland and the other side of the story, so to say. It has been speculated widely that there was some sort of a hidden secret understanding with Mr. Doval worked out vis-a-vis the United Arab Emirates, and the circumstances under which the Indian Coast Guards apparently had a role in the princess from UAE going back to her country. And you know, they've been
being sent back to her country under guard.
The point
basically
is,
imprisoned.
Yes, as in the Khashoggi case, suddenly this has become an international story. Whether it be the BBC, Australia, there is intense speculation about why, how, circumstances under which the princess left Indian territorial waters. And a considerable amount of skepticism about the official statements that are emanating from the UAE about her current status. So it's interesting to see how these play out in the foreseeable future, because these are some things over which Mr. Modi or Mr. Ajit Doval or Mr. Amit Shah will really have no control.
You know, essentially the Dubai princess story is that she was escaping from very strict controls over her, shall we say, relationship with people and possible boyfriend. And this, the Indian Coast Guard intercepted the ship on which she was traveling, which was in India's territorial waters, apparently, and then sent her back. So this is the story. Now, under what law did India send her back? Is there a law under which it can send her back? Is it, in that sense, a kidnapping?
What will the United Nations bodies deal with this?
If it comes up there, because unfortunately she can't file a case, because she has not been seen of or heard of after that. Though there are some reports now from the United Arab Emirates talking about a statement. But all of this is very murky. But the point remains that this is probably not likely to become, given India's, shall we say, concerned largely about itself, it's unlikely that it's going to become a major a national issue.
But let me say something else here. There's something that could become a national issue. And here, let me ask you the question and pick your brains. What do you think is going to happen vis-a-vis India and Pakistan relations in the next 4 months? Do you foresee any developments?
Now, this is, I think, a very important question, that Modi has two more cards to play. One is Pakistan and the other is Kashmir. And it's also true that the both are related, that if India wants in some sense to bring down the temperature over Kashmir, it has to start discussions, and it has to start discussions with also Pakistan. It's not enough to start discussions with only, shall we say, certain sections in Kashmir who have always argued for tripartite discussion, but it's also important for Pakistan to be on the table.
Especially in the context where Imran Khan is acknowledging the role of sections within Pakistan in what happened in Mumbai, and also apparently, sort of saying, taking a tough position vis-a-vis the United States of America.
So let's just step back a little from it and say, if we want today to bring down the temperature in Kashmir, declare victory by saying, now we've got a strong position, let's talk to Pakistan and the Hurriyat, other forces, and try and see whether we can have a settlement. Now, they can declare this to be a victory rather than a defeat, that this tough stand didn't work, the number of people killed are much higher than earlier, the number of soldiers and security personnel killed have been the same order as the militants, and what would be called collateral damage in terms of what American English is, that means civilians killed in crossfire, has been very large. It's larger than last 4, 5, 6 years. So the violence in Kashmir has actually just gone up. So they can say we are now successful, Pakistan is coming to the table. So that is one way of looking at it. What you said is absolutely right. Imran Khan from beginning has held out a message of peace, that we are willing to settle, and the corridor given to the 6 shrines, which was, if you remember, when Sidhu went to Pakistan and he talked about it, he was reviled as an agent of Pakistan. Now that Modi has done it, of course, it's a big victory for India.
So the question is on foreign policy issues, and once again, I see the main role here being played by the National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, rather than the Foreign Minister, the External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, whether the hawks will prevail over the doves. And
no, I don't think it's a hawk-dove issue here at all.
Okay.
I think it's simply an issue whether it will help in Indian elections to revile Kashmir, say we are so tough on the terrorists, we are fighting Pakistan, or to say we are now having peace, being tough has helped, Pakistan has come to the negotiating table, and we have therefore a victory. So it's really how you play the game that matters. Let's be very clear. According to Newsclick's earlier discussions in Kashmir, we have always held Kashmir is being sacrificed for political gains in India. That means that has been internal electoral benefit is what Modi's government has been seeking, what the BJP has been seeking, and that's why the violence in Kashmir, even though it doesn't work.
Time alone will tell the trajectory of what happens in Kashmir, what happens. I think one last question, and I take you back, because go back to the Ram Mandir thing. Do you really see Hindu-Muslim tensions escalating in the coming months? I mean, the Ardh Kumbh becoming one, maybe likely, possibly a flashpoint, the world's largest congregation of Hindus. Would Bulandshahr-like episodes happen in other parts of the country? Because I'm not at all, because once again, I believe that within the BJP and the Sangh Parivar, there are differences of opinion on this.
You see, I don't think the Mandir plank will work, but I do not believe that riots, lynchings will not work.
So these isolated sort of flashpoints.
You see, the question is, we have seen what I would call distributed violence, not a major flare-up like Gujarat, which happened where you actually had, mob violence on a scale which was very large. But you have been having what I would call a distributed violence, but continuous. Not a major flare-up, but continuously politicizing, creating fractures, and at levels we have not seen before, at the villages. So
yes,
let me just finish this. Please. I think what you are likely to see is a continuation of this tactic.
All right. And let me add here, it could very well be in some of the states in eastern India and Assam, Bengal, Orissa, Assam. It could also be there in Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. I mean, this is again something I would like to be proved wrong, but I won't be surprised if these are the areas where you see these, what you describe as distributed or episodic or quote-unquote isolated acts of communal...
Not isolated, but continuous acts of distributed violence.
Violence, yes.
And what
communal violence.
And what we also see is we have got a site on which we are working with some of the news organizations. And that is a hate crime watch.
The hate
and
watch,
if you see the map, for instance, of the hate crime watch, you will see continuous acts of violence, but distributed over a certain number of states. And it would be surprising that it is not just the northern states, but also include, of course, Maharashtra, includes Karnataka, includes even Tamil Nadu and Andhra. And even Andhra and Telangana are involved in this kind of distributed violence. How much BJP will be able to retain against such swings, against what was called the momentum that seems to be building against it, how much more this quote-unquote magic will work, how much Amit Shah's tactic will work, we don't know. But you know, as you had said in the earlier sections, Vinash Kale Viparit Buddhi, but in phrasing it differently, when you are losing, nothing seems to work. When you are winning, everything you do seems to turn out well for you.
Here, let me again speculate a little bit about the so-called Mahagathbandhan. Will all anti-BJP forces coalesce together, not on the basis of personalities, but on the basis of, say, a common minimum program, which already efforts are underway. And despite the fact that we see traditional political opponents willing to come together, whether it be the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party, or the Trinamool Congress and the CPM, and different sections of people, will anti-BJPism become a kind of a cementing force in the manner in which in the past we've seen what happened in 1977, we saw what happened in 1989. Are we going to see something else, something similar?
I don't think that of a common minimum program there is even a remote chance. There are just too many disparate forces, and that history of anything bringing them together is just not there. Between parties which are now also donning a kind of, shall we say, soft saffron outlook.
You mean the Congress specifically?
Congress specifically, the Janeu, which as you know, is the symbol of the twice born, and it has a simple caste connotation which is difficult to escape. With all of that, I don't think there is common ground between all the parties. But what does unite them is the ability to work for the common defeat of the BJP. Yes, I think common minimum program, if we start this discussion, I think they can spend next 5 years and not reach any end. But so for me, tactical voting, tactical seat adjustments, but not attempting to make a minimum program is probably much better way to go, particularly as state to state there are huge differences.
Okay.
And I think we should respect that.
And maybe let me just intervene briefly and go back to 2014 and what could happen in 2019. 2014, Narendra Modi was successful and the BJP spin doctors were successful in painting the election in an American-style presidential election. Modi banam Rahul. He wants to do that again. But will he be successful? We saw the highest ever voter turnout. We saw that though the BJP got 31.4% of the vote, these were concentrated in roughly 300 Lok Sabha constituencies. The first past the post exaggerated also the defeat of the Congress. It got 19.5% of the vote, but the seats in the Lok Sabha slipped down to below 10%. It got 44 out of 543. So under the circumstances, the personalization of politics in India. It is certainly going to be Mr. Modi's endeavor to continue to make it personalized. But how can those who are opposed to the Bharatiya Janata Party be able to divert, in a sense, attention from individuals to issues?
You know, let's also go back. I don't want to go back too much because we're running short of time. But Mrs. Gandhi was probably the first presidential election in the country in 1971. It was Garibi Hatao, but Mrs. Gandhi.
नहीं, so, इन लोग कह रहे इंदिरा हटाओ, मैं कह रहा हूँ गरीबी हटाओ.
हाँ, तो वो अगर उस तरह से देखी जाए तो ये चीज़ बहुत पहले से होती रही है. और ये बात भी सही है कि इस वक्त ये जितना पर्सनलाइज्ड है, बीजेपी जैसे पार्टी के लिए थोड़ी अजीब है, क्योंकि उनका एक केडर बेस्ड पार्टी रहा है, इतना पर्सनलाइज्ड नहीं रहा उनकी राजनीति. जबकि अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी को नेता कह रहे थे, तब और भी फिगर्स थे जो कि नेता कह जा सकते थे. इस वक्त मोदी और मोदी ही उनका एक.
और आपने देखा 75 साल में आपातकालीन समय के बाद 77 में क्या हुआ नतीजा.
और ये भी आप देख सकते हैं उनकी जो दूसरे नेता हैं, नेता गण है, वो अभी रिटायरमेंट के मोड में है. ठीक है ना. Sushma Swaraj is not neither that old nor is she a man. But she was very credible as a possible leader of the BJP.
In the Vajpayee mold.
She has also said she is not going to be a contestant. तो ये सब देखते हुए by presidential election अगर माने इसको, जो आप कह रहे हैं, जो मेरे समझ से पहले से ही होता आ रहा है, तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि ये इलेक्शन मोदी के ऊपर ही होगा, पर मोदी के खिलाफ होगा. ये मोदी इस चीज़ पे वो बेहतर कर पाएंगे, ये सवाल है. मेरे ख्याल से इट्स गोइंग टू बी एज मच प्रो मोदी एज मच एज एन एंटी मोदी इलेक्शन. Yes, the real issue in this 2019 election is going to be the Prime Minister.
Modi, Amit Shah, Modi,
Modi versus Mr. Modi.
That's a very good way of putting it.
That's really the issue.
The Narendra Modi of 2014 to the Narendra Modi of today.
So I think it is true that it is not going to be Rahul Gandhi versus Modi election.
It's going to be
Modi versus Modi election, and I think people are going to vote against Modi or in favor of Modi, and that's really the issue that is there. Thank you very much, Paranjoy, to be with us. Thank you, Bappa, for all this lovely statistics, data, maps that you've shown. I think this really makes our understanding much easier, because obviously elections are not just tables, they're also seats which are in space and time. So I think that's a very interesting way of looking at elections and the data you have shown. This is all the time we have today. It does seem that we are leaving our viewers with not a conclusive election result in Madhya Pradesh, but I think at least in the other 4 states the results are clear. Madhya Pradesh, certainly BJP has lost significant number of seats, but who will form the government is something that we have to wait for the end of the election results to be declared and for the post-poll, shall we say, alliances to emerge. I don't think either of the two parties are going to be that clear a victor, and they will need other parties to help them to go over the post. And is BJP that party today which can maneuver is a question to be asked. We saw in Karnataka it did not succeed. Whether it will succeed in Madhya Pradesh is something that we have to watch.